We are live on our Gutenberg special today on our group, the WordPress DIYer. My name is Javier from Artisan Themes, and we wanted to make this special live stream because we know there's much to talk about Gutenberg, and we wanted to let you all know what's going to happen with it and what's it about and all that it's coming to WordPress. So just let me open up the stream for the comments so that I know that I can see everything. If you are listening and watching, just let me know that you can hear me and watch so that I know we're good to go while I look for the video. And muting. Awesome. So great. So I see the comments, I see you can hear me, and I see you can watch. Perfect. So let's talk about what are we going to talk about today. So last month we had in our monthly meetup here in Buenos Aires, we had an amazing talk by a great designer named Mercedes Bugarin, and she told what's going on with Gutenberg, what's the stage of development, what it's going to be about, and what it's going to be useful for. So we wanted to bring a little bit of that here too, because we know there's this kind of excitement regarding what's going to happen once Gutenberg hits WordPress sometime around the end of this year. We don't know, we're going to see. So what is Gutenberg? First of all, Gutenberg is the new experience that is going to replace the editor, the native editor in WordPress. So whenever you go to create a new post or a new page, you see the regular, what we call the classic editor, right? It's a WYSIWYG editor that it's supposed to show you what you're creating while you're creating it. Now, this editor is being in WordPress for a very long time. And the whole idea behind Gutenberg is to say, well, we are in 2018 now. What we know to be the regular editor, it's a little bit outdated, and perhaps we should bring something new to the game. So the idea behind this is actually to be a little bit more of an easy point of entrance to new users to the WordPress experience. So if you're new to WordPress, you're probably trying to understand where everything is, and you're probably trying to understand how do you create your content. And what WordPress core team believes is that perhaps when you compare WordPress to the natural competition that is out there, let's call it Wix, Squarespace, Medium, the creation experience is a little bit harder to begin with. Once you get up to the point when you know what you're doing, then you can do so much more in WordPress. But the initial experience, it's a little bit harder or colder. So the whole idea behind Gutenberg is to be at least up to the point when something new to WordPress, someone new to WordPress can start creating content right away without having to learn everything from scratch. All right, so that's the why, and that's more or less why are we having all these Gutenberg questions around. The idea is to have Gutenberg released into WordPress for the next Mation version. So right now we are on 4.8, and we are about to have WordPress in 5.0, and we don't know when that's going to happen. I can think that for WordCamp US, that it's around November or December, it's probably going to be out, but no one knows. So we'll have to see. But the good news is that we've been able to try Gutenberg for a long time, and with the release of 4.9.8, you all saw a Gutenberg message right on your dashboard saying, hey, do you want to try out Gutenberg? This is going to be the new editor, and perhaps you want to start trying it out to know what it's going to be about. And you can right now activate it and test it by yourself, which is amazing and also very advisable. So what I want to do today is to show you around a little bit what's going to happen, what's going to be the experience with Gutenberg, tell you a little bit about what our own plans are regarding Gutenberg and our themes, and let's dive into it. So let me just show you my screen. I think you should be seeing my screen now, but let's just wait a moment. And we should be, yes, perfect. Okay, so when you update it to 4.9.8, version 4.9.8 of WordPress, this is what you saw. So this is a big message telling you to try the new Gutenberg experience. And everything that you have to do is just click on this blue button here that says install Gutenberg to just make Gutenberg be installed on your website. Now, right now, Gutenberg is not actually part of the core of the WordPress code. So what it does is it creates a plugin that gets installed into your WordPress installation, and you can just enable it or disable it. So you're not actually turning your whole WordPress install to the Gutenberg version just yet. So you can just disable it. But since this is still in the development phase, you would want to try this out on a site that is not your actual live site. Okay, just to make sure you're not breaking anything and just to avoid any trouble that could happen. You can try it out live, but of course, who knows? All right, so we install Gutenberg, and you see that you have this not quite ready, install the classic editor message on this side. And this is very important. Why? Because once WordPress 5.0 hits or installs, Gutenberg will be the default writing editor in all your pages and all your posts. So if you don't want to have Gutenberg on your site just yet, installing the classic editor plugin will disable Gutenberg now and when Gutenberg comes out in the WordPress core. So for instance, let's say that I'm not sure. For instance, let's say that I have a client that has a site that I built and he doesn't want to have Gutenberg in the future, or I'm not completely sure how is Gutenberg going to work with his site. So I can install the classic editor right now, and what it'll do is it'll disable the Gutenberg editor on his site for as long as I have this classic editor plugin active, which is amazing because I don't have to worry about when it's going to be released. And whenever it happens, I know that nothing is going to change on that editor. So if you're afraid about what is going to happen when Gutenberg gets out, you just install this classic editor plugin and you're good to go. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to, make tests and stuff. You just install it, activate it, and that's it. But right now, let's see what happens once we install this. So this is a screenshot. I had done it before. So you install it and then you will be prompted to activate the plugin, which I already did. And what it happens is that it takes you to this screen with a demo post on the actual editor. Okay. So this is how the new editor looks. Let's see. So you have the post, okay, And the first thing that you'll notice is that you don't have all the header that you used to have before, when you had the title and the slug and your editor tools at the top. And that is because the new Gutenberg editor doesn't work like a Word document like we are used to from before. The new Gutenberg editor works with what they are calling blocks. And blocks are, if you are working with one of our themes and you know what modules are, so blocks are like micro modules. So they are tiny pieces of content that you can drop into your page or post to create the whole layout of your post. So where before you would just start typing and you type and you type and you type, and if you want to take a sentence and turn it into a heading, you just select your sentence and go and select the heading type. Or perhaps you want to change the color of a sentence, so you select your sentence and you change the color. So before you would just write into an editor, and now instead of that you can also write and you hit enter and your sentences go as you expect them to go, but also you get to add different elements that work actually as blocks, and you can reorder them and you can control them inside your own post. Okay, and before you start thinking this is kind of a page builder, I want to stress this point out. Gutenberg is not exactly meant to be a page builder. So if you take it as one, you will start saying it's kind of limited and it doesn't do exactly what you want to do, and you can control everything and you can't create super complex layouts. That's because it's not a page builder, and it's not meant to be. My prediction is it's going to get a little bit more like a page builder, in the sense that they're probably going to add more settings to it and more controls, but it's not a direct replacement to your regular page builder if you're using one. So you don't have to actually start thinking about switching all your content creation ways to this. This is mostly a new writing experience, and it should be taken as that, at least right now. That said, and I think I've covered the introduction fairly completely. All right, so we are ready to the demo. So if you start scrolling through this demo post that gets automatically created, you will see that every time you move through your content, you get this square, actually not a square, a rectangle, that says paragraph, or that says image, or paragraph again, or heading, and that is Gutenberg telling you what kind of block are you working with right now. And this is the main screen of the editor. Once you move to this area of the screen, what you have is first a section where you can control your whole post, and this is exactly what you used to have on the right side of the screen in WordPress. But also you have a section to control the specific block that you are working with. So for instance, and again, I'm only going over what the content that got imported by Gutenberg. So for instance, if I want to work with this paragraph here and I click on it, first of all, I have these controls here to just modify this. So for instance, just as I would do earlier, I can play with the alignment, I can make the text bold or set it to italics and such. But also I have this whole section here with more settings, and this is very interesting. So for instance, if I wanted to increase the font size here, I could go and I have these settings here for the paragraph, and it happens in all the paragraph, and I can turn the text to smaller, medium, large, and extra large size. Or I could go and just play with the custom size control. which is nice. And I can of course reset it. Then I could also select the drop cap options to make this first letter here into a drop cap, which is nice. And you will see that you have here a color setting too, which will let you control your text color and your background color. Pretty easy. So far it's pretty easy. Now, what else do we have here? On the top, we have the title of the post, and this was, for me at least, a little confusing at the beginning, because I didn't know exactly if this was part of the content or the title of the post. And it is the title of the post, and if you click on it, you will see the permalink option right on top of it. So this is one of the first things that I saw people commenting on the plugin when I entered to see the reviews, and they didn't know where the permalink option was. So here it is. You just click on the post title and a permalink option will open at the top, and you can of course edit it as you would do before. So Gutenberg, oh my god, Gutenberg editor demo, and you can just edit it as you would do before. Okay, so how does it work? You have a couple options to play with on each block. You get to add blocks, you get to remove blocks, you get to reorder them. And for instance, let me show you this. If you move between the blocks, you will see this plus icon that it's called the inserter, and if you click on it, you will get this blank space in the middle, and once you click on this icon again, you get this window when you get to select what type of block you will be adding. So let's see what we have here. So first, you will have a section with your most used blocks, and it'll remember what you have used right now, and it'll bring it right into this section so that you don't have to look for it all over the place. But after that, you have inline elements, and in there you have, for now, the inline image option, which will bring an image inside a paragraph. Okay, then you have your common blocks. Inside we have mostly everything that we had before, on our classic editor. That is paragraph, headings, subheading, which is a new option, video, image, gallery, a list, a quote, audio, cover image, and file. And these two are very, very new. The cover image is text on top of an image. Mostly, if you're using our themes, it's similar to a slogan module in what it's supposed to do. And they are saying you will probably want to use this to create a header on your post. And the file block here will create a file download on your post, and I will show it to you later. So formatting, pre-formatted code, classic, custom HTML, pull quotes, table, and verse. And verse is actually not a very useful block, and I think they just included it just for fun, but it's supposed to create a one sentence statement. We have layout elements in there, a separator, columns that is in beta right now, a button, a more call to action, a page break, and a spacer that will create space between your elements. Then you have widgets that you can bring here, and these are part of the widgets of your regular WordPress install, but these are not all your widgets. These are widgets that can play inside Gutenberg, and if you wanted, for instance, to insert a shortcode, this is what you'll use to that. The archives, categories, latest comments, and latest posts, also widgets. Then embeds, this is fairly self-explanatory, but you can bring here all the embeds for your different websites. Then you have something that I want to show you later. So let's say we want to bring here a heading. So we would just go and insert a heading. So this would be our heading. And again, if I click on it, I can change this to be a heading 3, a heading 4, a heading 2, and you see that I don't have here all the options, like I don't have a heading 5, but if I go here on this side, I do have it. Okay, so you can also control here, and what it does here is it'll show you the most, let's call it the most useful options or most useful parameters to play with, instead of showing you everything in the same place. And again, coming here, I can play with the text alignment, and if I want to, I can select an additional CSS class to add to this heading. But this is the main idea, that I start adding blocks to the content, and I can edit them and play with them as if I was writing, but with much more flexibility into this. And a couple of things that I found really interesting and fun. First, the galleries experience now inside the post, it's a little bit more fun and also a little bit more, let's call it intuitive. So I could come here and select this gallery here, and you see that I now have a columns slider here that will let me play with the amount of columns in the gallery right in there. And then I also have the ability to crop the images or disable the images cropping for this gallery to make them all look the same. And of course you can still link to the media file or the attachment page and everything, just as you did before. Now, what I also found interesting is that now we have, let me show you this. Let's say we are here and we add a new block, and then we open here, and this, let me show you this custom HTML. So on the old days of WordPress, and I would say since the old days of WordPress, if you wanted to control the HTML of the content that you were adding into your post, you would have to, I will try to explain this without showing it, but you would have to write some content on your visual editor, then switch to the text tab so that you could see the actual content, the code behind your content, and then switch back to the visual editor to keep editing. So right now I can create this custom HTML block and just create a heading. For instance, this is our custom HTML heading. Okay, and then if I click on preview, I'm seeing the actual content, but I can switch to HTML, and this is sort of what we had before, right? We also had to switch forth and back between the views, but right now I don't have to do this with the whole post. And if you worked with this in the past, you know that this can get real messy. Like you would, if I wanted to add a class to this heading, for instance, let's say that I want to use a class, my special class here. Right? So if you wanted to add a class to an element, you know that you would do that, but then you would be a little bit afraid of switching forth and back between your views, because sometimes that would get messed up. So right now you're not even running getting along with that risk, because you just have to do this with the specific part that you want to edit. And I found that very interesting and very useful also. Now, what else I found useful? This. Let's say that we want to insert a file download. So the file block will create exactly that. So I get to open my media library, and let's say I want to create a download for this picture, and I just select it, and that's it. That's it. It's interesting, right? And I can disable the download button, okay, or enable it again, and I should be able also to edit this text here. Let's see if we can. So download this great image. I think we did it, right? Yes. Let's see if we copy the URL and we paste it here. Yes, yes, it's perfect. So this is fairly easy, and before, if you wanted to create a file download, you would have to absolutely install a plugin for that, or otherwise you would have to play with the link and try to see if it'll open as a new file in a window or not. So this will just create a download for you, and it's super easy to do. And the other block that I found very useful, and I'm actually glad that it's there, it's called the classic block. And what it does is it creates a classic editor inside your Gutenberg editor. So if you want to use the classic editor somehow, for some reason, whatever reason it is, then you would just pick the classic block and you have it right there, and you can mix it up. It's the same content as the rest of this editor, but created on a classic editor, and it works just like that. Okay, now what other things do we have here that are super nice? So this, take a look at this. Let's say we have a paragraph here. Let's make it a little bit shorter. And let's say that I want to create some kind of banner inside my content. And perhaps this is something that I would like to repeat on different posts, or something that I'm used to say at the end or at the beginning, some kind of introduction. Perhaps I want to style my introduction. So let's say I take this paragraph and I set it to this blue background with some white color for the text. Okay. Now you get to open this more options control here, and take a look at this. You can duplicate this block. You can create a block before or after it. You can edit it as HTML, but you also have this option that says add to reusable blocks. And what it does, take a look at this, it prompts you to enter a name. So we could call this introduction banner, and click on save, and then we have it. And then if I go and I want to create, for instance, let's say I want to create a new post, and I come here, bear with me, my computer is live streaming now, so it's a little bit clumsy. Okay, so this is a new post with Gutenberg, sorry. So right now, let's say I start to write, I can come here, and in the blocks window, I have a reusable blocks section. So I can grab my introduction banner, and like magic, it puts it right there. And of course I can come here and sometime in the future edit. Okay, so I can come here and modify it to be my new introduction copy for this blog that we made with a reusable block, and just like that. Okay, and let's say, oh, this is interesting. So I did this before, and I modified this without having to rename it or change my reusable block. So this is interesting. We would have to see how we should go about. Perhaps someone watching knows already, but I know that I did it before, So I modified my copy here and clicked on save now, but I'm wondering if it changed also the one here. So let's see, let's click on publish, and right now if I refresh this, and let's say that I refresh the second one too, let's see what happens. So if you just joined us, we are watching what happens when we use our reusable block in two different posts. So in this block, it got shorter, so we have the edited version here. And in this one, well, this one doesn't want to load. Oh, we didn't publish it yet. Okay, so publish. Let's wait a little bit. So the other thing you may want to know about it, if you are a little bit code based, is that this editor is mainly JavaScript based. So on WordCamp US, I think 2016, we all got prompt to learn JavaScript deeply, and this editor is built entirely with JavaScript. It wasn't the way before, so it's brand new for the WordPress ecosystem as a whole, and that's why when it saves and publishes, it doesn't reload the page. So let's see what happened. Okay, so it got shorter. Bummer. Okay, so what I thought it did, it's not actually what it does. So more than reusable, it's actually like saved blocks, right? So we don't get to use this as a template. Interesting. Oh, but perhaps we can convert it to regular block. Okay, so the way it works, if you work with our themes, is it works like a module in our themes would work where you edit it on one page, it gets edited in the other. So to remove that kind of synchronicity, we should convert it to regular block, and then we get to keep the format, but we can edit it as we can edit this as a new block. Interesting, right? Interesting. Perfect. All right, so this is interesting. Now, what else I want to show you here? You probably already seen this, but when I wanted to publish my new post and I click on the publish button, it didn't publish it right away, which I think it's a very smart thing to do. So this would be a new post, and when I want to publish it, take a look at this. So I click on publish, and instead of publishing right away, I'm asked if I'm ready to publish. And gosh, I wish I'd had this so many times when I just clicked on publish because I wanted to save the post or save the page, and instead I just publish it, and then I had to go back and switch it to draft, and it's an embarrassing moment. So instead of that, you get asked if you're ready to publish instead, which I think it's a very good thing to do. Now, you can also click here to hide this whole section if you prefer to work on your whole screen, and you can bring this back with this settings button right here. And you can also open here the more options section to switch it to code editor. This is kind of what you do before, right? Where you would see everything as code instead. And let's change it to visual editor again. And also you can fix the toolbar to the top. And what it does is that this toolbar here stays. So let's say that I come to our previous post here, and right here, it looks like we have that already. So I don't know what it did before that. Interesting. Okay, so in my previous tests, that actually kept this toolbar at the top, and right now it's keeping it in there always. So it's a good good sign that we are working with live code and that everything it's actually it's getting worked out as we move along. So another interesting thing that we have here, the tools, in the tools section, we have this copy all content. And since you are working with blogs, you may want to bring everything that you've created into a different post or a different page. So perhaps you are working with a post, let's say that you do perhaps interviews on your website, and you have a very structured layout for the interviews where perhaps you have a photo with an introduction and you're used to put quotes on the same places. So in this case, while you will just create it with blocks, perhaps you can you want to start using the whole structure to create all your different posts. So for that, you would come here and select copy all content, and when you go to a new post, you get every block that you had on your previous post on the new one. It works kind of a pre-format layout that you can bring to your posts, and it's really useful. Okay, so another thing that I want to show you is that you might be wondering where the whole plugins section goes. So if you're using Yoast, like I am on this case, or if you're using another plugin, this is where you should see the meta boxes that were on the content section of your screen. And right now, as you can see, I have my Yoast section screen, and Yoast has a section also, Yoast has also a section that you can open here. So whatever they thought it wasn't that much of a deal to bring to the main screen, they decided to put on the side, and you can play with this on the side. But the main screen for Yoast is right here below your post, as it always had. And if you are working, just to show you around, if you are working, if you're working with pages and you are wondering where your theme pages options are, you will find them right on the same place below your content. So in this case, we will have Yoast, and right below it, you have your page options that come with the theme, and you have them in the same place. Okay. So a couple of useful things that I think are worth mentioning regarding Gutenberg. First, if you are code inclined, there exists the possibility to create your own blocks. So if you perhaps are working with a client that wants to bring some specific combinations of content in a very specific manner, and he wants to have it at his disposal on every post, you can do that by creating your own block type, and this is all done through JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Almost no PHP involved, and so you have to learn a little bit more of JavaScript, as we all had during this past couple of years. And but you can create your own type of blocks, and you can also create predefined templates of blocks altogether. So I'm thinking that it's not going to be long till we start seeing, for instance, WooCommerce templates that let you control product details on your posts or pages or product pages in a block manner, which I think will turn things a little bit easier regarding that. Another thing that I want to mention is that they are already plugins that will extend the amount of blocks that you get to work with. So while right now you have only these blocks that you have here, the common blocks, the formatting blocks, the layout elements, and so on. So there are already plugins that will extend this. You can just Google them. There are many of them, and you can start extending the amount of blocks that you get to work with. Another thing that it's nice to mention is that there is a website called testgutenberg.com. And if you get into this website, you kind of have this front-end experience that doesn't exist on Gutenberg right now, and for what we're reading is not going to exist in the near future. So front-end editing is not something that we can all expect to right now. But on this specific instance, in this website, they have created this Gutenberg instance where you can try things out without having to create a site of your own just for testing purposes, or without having to activate the plugin on your site if this is a live site we're talking about. So this is actually a site you can work on on every element and add your own images and stuff and try things out, and it works fairly nice. Okay, so that said, I think I've covered everything related to Gutenberg itself. Now, if you are using one of our themes, you know that our themes are not so micro creation inclined. That's why we don't equal our themes to any page builder when you can create things, but you have to control every little detail on its own, and you have to actually come up with everything that you want to look on your pages. So our themes are more modular based, and we think of that as whole sections that you get to add to your pages to control the experience on your site. So what is going to happen with Gutenberg, and you haven't seen it yet, although we did release by mistake a version that had this while we were working on it, I think like 2 months ago. But nevertheless, you will see that on the pages menu, where right now you have all pages and add new, you will see that you will have a new add new modular page option that will immediately open an instance of your modular page creator. So instead of having to go to a page and then modify the template as we did before by going to page attributes and changing the template here to make it a modular page, you will only have to click on the new modular page link, and it'll open a page that will let you create modular pages. Right now, if you install Gutenberg and you want to turn a page into a modular page, you will do this, and what you're used to see happening, that is everything here changing to show you the modular page creator, it isn't happening. So you can't do it that way. So if you did activate Gutenberg to test things out, and you still want to use modular pages, as you of course should. So let's say we create a page, so modular page test, and I did change the template to modular page, and I click on publish. Again, the double publish question, I find that great. Okay, so the modular page test is now live, so we can go here, and this is live. Perfect. So right now what you can do is you go to all pages, so you can see all your pages, and you have this modular page test here, and you can click on the front-end editor, and the page will of course open in the front-end editor mode, and you can just go and create your page as usual, and nothing in there will change at all. You don't have to worry about that. So that's how you can right now keep creating your pages as always while you try things out in Gutenberg. And out of that, just a couple of things so you know that in the very next future, everything that you create on Gutenberg here in the editor will match the front end view for your website. So all the posts that you create, and you know that right here, for instance, perhaps you have this centered in a very specific way, and you don't know if it's going to be centered just like that on the front end as this image, for instance. So in the near future, you will see everything matching the front end result for your Gutenberg experience. And also there's, I don't wanna, I can talk about, okay, no, so we can't discuss it yet, but you will probably see a couple of new things coming up in the future regarding our themes and Gutenberg. But in summing up, this is what's going to go on the writing experience for WordPress, and we are very excited for this. I think the post creation experience, it's going to get a major vamp up, and it feels fun. I haven't created posts on Gutenberg yet, so I don't know if it gets you flowing better than what we had before. We'll all see that, I guess, soon. But it feels fun. I think it feels fun. It gets you a little bit more connected to the end result, sort of what Medium does when you write on Medium. So I think that'll help a little bit in that regard. And as you probably know, practically all major plugins are getting its stuff adapted to work nicely with Gutenberg. So as you see, that happens with Yoast here, and that they had their own menu here on the side too. Every plugin is doing this. So if you're working with a huge plugin and you don't know what's going to happen, you can of course ask its authors, but you can probably rest assured that they're going to do something to make things happen, and make sure everything is all right for when WordPress 5.0 it's released. So you don't have to actually worry about that. But that said, you do want to start testing things out. It'll help the community if you can test things out and report back to the plugin creators. And mostly it'll help you to know how to be prepared for the future when the next major WordPress version is out. That said, I'm not seeing any question in the comments, but of course you can drop your question right down there and we'll get to them. And if you are already testing Gutenberg, I wanna know what you feel about the experience. I wanna know what were you looking in there that perhaps you didn't find, or perhaps something that surprised you. I wanna know about it, so be sure to post it right there on the comments. And I think we've covered it all. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure for me to do this, and we'll see you next time. Bye guys.